So you want a bike that's a bit sporty, but that you can also use every day and that won't break the bank? Well, in this video, we'll look at some of the best middleweight affordable sports bikes on the market in 2025, and we'll go in price order ascending. Kicking us off at under £7,000, we've got the new 675 Triple from CFMOTO. Known as the SRS in Europe and the SS in North America, this one looks like a heck of a great deal in terms of performance per pound spent. There's 94 horsepower on tap from this new engine, adjustable suspension courtesy of KYB, 4-pot radial brake calipers from Chigee on twin discs up front, and the whole lot weighs in at well under 200 kilograms curb. The seat height is moderate at 810 mils, so it should be reasonably comfortable for general road riding too, and the electronics package looks impressive for the price, with a 5-inch TFT dash, a standard fit quick shifter and slipper clutch, LED lighting, a USB charger, Bosch ABS and traction control, and also some Bluetooth capabilities. I'm yet to ride one of these so far, but we'll look to put that right soon. But in the meantime, I'm sure they'll be flying off the shelves anyway, although I guess long-term reliability and build quality are still relatively unproven, with it being a brand new engine from CFMOTO for 2025. I guess at the complete other end of the spectrum though, another 500 quid will get you one of the longest standing engines on the market. Kawasaki's 650 parallel twin has been unchanged for years now, and while it isn't particularly powerful at 67 horses peak, nor does it sound that great with a 180-degree crank, well, it just gets on with the job in a fairly dependable manner. The chassis spec is modest and there's not too much fancy about the tech either, but it does get a very accessible seat height of 790mm, which I think makes it the lowest seat height on this list. That means, of course, it's not the most sporty riding position, as you can imagine, but if you're looking for a comfy, low-set bike with a bit of the Ninja image, then it is worth a spin. Now, it's a big step up in price to the next bike on the list at £8,595, but I reckon if you took the Triumph Daytona 660 out for a spin, you'd probably say it's worth the difference. Like the CFMOTO, there's an inline triple that makes 94 horsepower peak, with a nice, responsive, sporty throttle map that was lacking in previous years of the 660 models. The chassis is also well-spec'd with decent Showa suspension and own-branded radial brakes, and the handling in total is nicely balanced, if not super aggressive. The same could also be said for the riding position, which strikes a nice compromise between sporty but comfy, with more of an aggressive tuck than something like the Ninja 650 with an 810mm seat height, but bars that aren't so low that you'll need to crane your back to reach down to them. Some might not love the part LCD part TFT dash, but in practice I find it perfectly functional out on the road, and so for the price, I think this one is a decent bet, although I do prefer it in the nice red finish rather than the sticker pack on the press bike they loaned me for this review. Next up, we got a couple of inline 4s for a bit of peaky sports bike power delivery, although this first one does come in a rather small package. It's the ZX-4RR from Kawasaki, which comes in at £8,699, and as you may have deciphered from the name, it's a 400, which easily makes it the smallest bike on this list in terms of displacement. Thing is though, it revs to the moon, making its peak power figure up at 14,500 RPM, and so you actually get a respectable 76 horsepower out of it, despite a fairly puny peak torque figure of just 39 Newton meters. It's exactly like you'd imagine to ride, with nothing in terms of the low to mid range, but once you get it singing, there's a brilliant soundtrack and just about enough shove to get it moving fairly briskly, helped by the 189 kilogram curb weight. The rest of the bike is good too. The brakes work well, it's agile, it handles sweetly, the ride is forgiving enough for the road but also feels composed, and the looks are somehow more aggressive than the Ninja 650, despite working largely with the same formula. But overall, it's that revvy engine that truly leaves a lasting impression, and also a massive grin, with it truly being a sports bike that you can thrash almost everywhere you go on the road, and yet you're not going lose your license quick all the time. For 30 quid more though, you could get a 4-cylinder bike with a bit more brawn, and that's Honda's relatively long-standing CBR 650R. More capacity means more torque at 63 Nm peak, made way lower in the revs at 9,500 RPM, and naturally there's more power on tap too at 94 horses peak. For me, that makes for a more rounded engine that's happier in the mid-range, but that still has a bit of sporty top end for when you do get the chance to open it up. On the downside, this bike is a touch more weighty though at 211 kilograms curb, and I will say the riding position is more relaxed than the Kawasaki, so I'd see this as more of a road-friendly all-rounder than a real sporty thrasher. One thing very much worth pointing out though about this bike, at least in the UK, is that like the CB650R Naked, Honda seem to have quietly made it only available for 2025 with their recently introduced e-clutch system. This basically uses an electronic actuator on the clutch, so you can just ride it as a twist and go, although you do still have to take care of the gear shifts yourself, but again, with no need to dip the clutch. There is, however, still a manual clutch lever present, so you can override the e-clutch and slip it in slow-moving traffic, for example, but perhaps it's not a feature that everybody wants, and so it is a bit of a shame that there's no longer a manual. Yamaha's R7 is next up at close to £9,000, and while it's a simple bike with a fairly simple engine, really the focus is on the mechanicals and also the aggressive ergonomics. The CP2 parallel twin is reasonably punchy, but at 72 horses it won't realistically set your world alight, and while more recent bikes built upon this platform have had the electronics upgraded, well, this one is still on the cable throttle with no riding modes or traction control. It does, however, get a fully adjustable upside-down fork from KYB, 4-pot radially mounted brake calipers up front, a slip assist clutch, the option of a quick shifter on the upshift, and all in a package that weighs in at a slender curb weight of 188 kilograms. What I think stood out most to me about this bike though is the riding position, which isn't quite super sport aggressive, but still a lot more canted forward than the rest of the bikes on this list, which do tend to be a bit more road focused. The seat is up at 835mm, the clip-on bars relatively low set, and so if you want a track bike that requires corner speed rather than just squirts of power on the straights, then this might well be the bike for you. Suzuki offers something vaguely similar in the GSX-8R with an 80 horsepower parallel twin, but it is the heavier bike at 205 kilograms, and the riding position is a lot more sat up. I still liked it okay when I rode it, with a really nice smooth engine and a better selection of tech than the R7, but at £8,999 I do think it's a little difficult to justify, as it doesn't really stand out in one particular area. Perhaps it will still appeal to the absolute torque lovers or those who really prioritise a silky smooth engine and throttle response, but in my opinion, the Daytona 660 does the same balanced riding position, yet with a much more exciting engine in the triple and better looks too, plus it's 400 quid cheaper. That, however, leads us nicely onto the Aprilia RS 660, which I would probably say is the best of the bunch. At 105 horsepower peak, there's easily enough on tap to have an absolute riot on the road, and the wet weight figure of just 183 kilograms is about as good as it's gonna get. There's braking from Brembo, the fully adjustable KYB suspension is up to scratch, and the tech package is second to none in this class, with easily enough modes and features for your average rider. What I really loved about it though is that it gives you a riding position that's right in the sweet spot for a sports bike for the road, allowing you to get into a tuck when you're riding quick so it still feels engaging, but in my experience never really feeling particularly uncomfortable or heavy on the wrists. Then it's wrapped up in the typical Aprilia styling package, which inherits some of its looks from the RS V4, and so the whole package, in my eyes, is truly a bit of a winner. The only downside would be the price at £10,450 for 2025, which is, of course, the most expensive bike on this list, but I do think it's still fairly attainable and a good example of getting what you pay for. As always though, I'd love to know which bike you'd pick, so please do let me know down in the comments below, and I'll leave a video on the screen now where I compared recently the RS457, the RS660 and the RS V4, so do give that a click and give it a watch if you haven't already. Do hit subscribe as well for more of the latest motorcycle news and reviews right here on MOTOBOB. A massive thanks for watching today, and we'll catch you in the next video.